जना शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिति नामने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे वंचा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामो राम रामो हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So welcome all of you all for a weekly Gita class. So we are discussing the fifth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. So today we are starting the next section, number 13 to 16. This is called the platform of knowledge. How a living entity gets entangled in this world, and how there are these three types of doers that are required to make any activity successful: the soul, Prakriti, material nature, and super soul, Paramatma. So in this section, basically, it is explained that the living entities who know all about the bodily activities are automatically carried out by the modes of material nature. After those activities are sanctioned by the Lord, attains enlightenment through their knowledge. So here the three kinds of doers is explained. So when we understand how we get entangled in this world and how the activities in this world are carried out, we can also attain enlightenment. So knowledge is very, very important. In the Isopanishad, one of the mantras of the Isopanishad says that what is real knowledge? Real knowledge means to understand what is knowledge and what is ignorance. To understand Krishna and Maya, both are important. So, how we get entangled in this world and how we will get free from this entanglement. So, so that's how Krishna explains in this section that when we understand that all our bodily activities are automatically carried out by the modes of nature. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. So we may feel that we are actually doing, but we are not doing. We just desire, but the material nature makes us act. And then it is ultimately sanctioned by the super soul. So just like, if I have to do a particular activity, if I have to lift my hand, if this is my desire, I have a desire, Prakriti has to, this body has to support me, material nature has to support me. And material nature will support only when the super soul sanctions. So only when all the three fit together, only then work is accomplished. So we may think that something is happening automatically, but in the background, the Supreme Lord is there. So one who can see the hand of the Lord actually attains enlightenment. So we will see text 13. Sarva karmani manasa sanyaste tukam vashi tadvare dei naiva kuvam narayan. Word to word, sarva all, karmani activities, manasa by the mind, sanyasya giving up, aste remains, Sukham in happiness, Vashi one who is controlled, Navadware, in the place where there are 9 gates. Pure, in the city. Dehi, the embodied soul. No, never. Eva, certainly. Kurvan, doing anything. No, not. Karayan, causing to be done. The translation: when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. So here Krishna explains the first kind of doer, the Jivatma. So we are all entrapped in this material body. Navadware pure dehi. So this body is compared to a city. So we have all, so this is like an analogy Krishna is giving here, and this analogy also comes in the Bhagavatam. As living entities, we have entered a city. The city of our body has 9 gates. The 2 eyes, the 2 nose, the nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, anus, and genitals. So these are the city. This is the city of 9 gates, and we are entrapped in it. Right? We have become embodied in this body. So if you want to be happy in this world, this body is a place of suffering only ultimately. But even in this body, if you want to experience some happiness, what we have to do? We have to control our nature. The nature to enjoy this world, we have to control, and we have to mentally renounce all action. We may be doing work, but then we should realize that actually it is only by the mercy of Krishna it is being done. So we should not take credit for what we are doing. So if we act in this way, we can remain happily in the city of 9 gates. So Srila Prabhupada explains here that the cause of suffering, the root cause of suffering, is our forgetfulness of our superior nature. This is the root cause of suffering. And this is why the soul gets entrapped in this body. So this is the most important essential teaching of the Gita. Why we have come in this world. This world is a place of misery, anxiety, kunta. Why we have come in this world and why we are entrapped in this body. This body can give us so much pain, so much disease. We are all entrapped here because we have forgotten our original nature. That is why the basic teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is that we are not the body, we are spirit soul. As long as we identify with this body, we remain caught in this body. We'll have to keep taking births again and again. Vasudev, the father of Lord Krishna, gives a very beautiful example in the Bhagavatam, in his instructions to Kamsa. He gives the example of a moon, which is actually stationary in one place, but when the moon is reflected on a body of water or in a place where there's oil, any liquid, the moon's reflection may appear to change due to the wind. Sometimes the moon may become oval, round, elongated, but actually the moon doesn't change. But the reflection of the moon appears to change. So if the moon identifies with the reflection, the moon will get affected. So similarly, all of us, just like the moon which is there in the sky, our original nature is the spiritual world. We are all spirit souls. But because we are identifying with the reflection, we are identifying with this body, we are taking different births. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. We are taking births again and again. And in every body, we have different set of 9 gates. A human being has a different set of 9 gates, different ears, different nose. A dog has a different set of 9 gates. So we are all entrapped like this. So Prabhupada says that we all have a choice. We have come here because of desire. We wanted to enjoy separately of God. We have forgotten the nature, we have come here. And for us to go back out of this entanglement, of this engagement, is also desire. Choice is the most important prerogative that all of us have. If we desire that I want to get free from the entanglement, then it is possible. Because ultimately, the only power that all of us have is the power to desire. That's all. That's the role of the Jivatma. We can only desire. So if you want to get out, first we have to realize that we are in a place of suffering. This is something that's very important to understand, digest. We need a lot of honesty. If you're really honest in our life, we will realize this and we will accept it, that we are actually suffering in this world. We may say we are happy, but actually we are suffering. And if you want to remain happy in this miserable world, the way is one should become detached from bodily activities, right? One should get rid of all this sense gratification business. So Srila Prabhupada explains here, Navadware pure dehi hamso lelayate bahi vashi sarvasya lokasya stavarasya charasya cha. It is said the Supreme Personality of Godhead is living in the body of the living entity and is the controller of all the living entities. So within our body, we are also there, the Atma, and the Paramatma is also there. So controlled the Prakriti, the rules of material nature, but the Paramatma is free. So if you want to remain in this world, we have to identify ourselves with God. That means we have to see that connection. So when we connect back to God, we will find a solution to all our sufferings. So the root cause of our sufferings is our forgetfulness of our connection with God, forgetfulness of our nature, and the solution to all sufferings is the process of Krishna consciousness. Once we revive this original position, mukti hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. The definition of giving all recognition. Nirmutam tattvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. So the root cause of all suffering is our forgetfulness, and in order to come out of this entanglement, we have to give up all designations and come to the stage of surrendering to Krishna. So in this way, we can remain happy in this material world. We will read text 14. Na kartartvam na karmani lokasya srujati prabhu na karma phala samyogam swabhavastu pravartate. Word to word. Na, just 1 second. Yeah. Na, never. Kartartvam, proprietorship. Na, nor. Karmani, activities. Lokasya, of the people. Srijati, creates. Prabhu, the master of the city of the body. Na, nor. Karma phala, with the results of activities. Samyogam, connection. So, the modes of material nature. To, but pravrite, act. Translation: the embodied spirit, the master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act. Nor the creation. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. So this is, in this words, Krishna explains the second doer, that is the Prakriti. So as spirit soul, in one sense, we don't have the power to act. It is material nature that is making us act. Just like you can see in this picture, these three ladies are controlling the puppet with ropes. So Prakriti, Rajogun, Tamogun, Sattvagun, they are all continuously making us act in different ways. So we may think that we are independent masters, we are controllers, but actually intelligence is to understand that we are controlled. We are actions of Prakriti. So Prabhupada explains here that there are different energies of the Lord. Krishna explains in the 7th chapter also of Bhagavad Gita. There are different energies, principally 3 kinds of energies. Inferior energy, superior energy, and marginal energy. So the inferior energy is material nature. The superior energy is the spiritual nature, the internal energy, Srimati Radharani, and the marginal energy is the living entities. So all of us have choice whether we want to be under Maya or we want to be under Radharani. Whether we want to be under Maya or we want to be under Krishna. So this is the choice we have. And because we have been in contact with material nature, we are suffering in this world. Srila Prabhupada explains, the soul is in contact with material nature since time immemorial. So if you ask someone, when did our suffering start? When did I come to this material world? This question doesn't have an answer. Since time immemorial, you can't find out. We are suffering in this world birth after birth. And this temporary body is the cause of all activities and resultant reaction. So once we come in this body, the meter starts. Just like now, once you sit in a rickshaw, the rickshaw fellow, he'll start the meter. The meter will keep running. So as soon as we come in this material world, we take a material body, the meter of karma starts. So any activity that we do gives further reaction, and that reaction gives to further action. And in this way, we get entire completely banyan tree. Recently, we went for the small picnic. We saw some banyan trees, very old banyan trees. If you see a banyan tree, it is like there for hundreds of years. You will not be able to make out which the original trunk is, because that a trunk produces more branches, and that branch becomes another trunk. Similarly, we keep transmigrating through different bodies because of our various karma. And this karma starts with ignorance. That is why if you saw Srila Prabhupada in the previous verse, we were discussing this point. The root cause of all suffering is our forgetfulness of Krishna. Ignorance. Agyan is the root cause of all suffering. Before we do karma, before we do right, wrong, whatever, the problem is ignorance. We are identifying with this body. We are thinking we are the master. Srila Prabhupada explains here. We are not the master. This is just an illusion that we are the master, we are controllers. It just appears so, but we are not masters. We are being controlled. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalokam. Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the master, Krishna is the proprietor. But we may think, I am the master, but we are not the master. Srila Prabhupada writes here, he is simply in the midst of material ocean, struggling for existence. We may say, Arey, I am the controller, I control every body. We don't have any control. Can we control our heartbeat? Can we control how the lungs function, the liver functions? We don't have any idea of what is happening. Do we have any control of the brain, of the mind? No control. Just illusion that we are the masters. So we are neither proprietor nor controller. What is the position? Our position is we are in this ocean of birth and death, Bhavasagar, and we are simply being tossed around. Just like a football. Football is being kicked here and there. The football doesn't have any control. So similarly, we are being kicked by material nature here and there. Or if you're in an ocean, in the midst of the ocean tosses even a big ship, the ocean just tosses. Sometimes up, sometimes down. Struggle for existence. So we are all come to this world of samsara, thinking that we'll be the master, but the only thing that is happening is we are getting kicked royally. We are getting tossed royally in this ocean of birth and death. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. So the only solution to get out of this miserable existence, first thing is to accept and digest that I'm struggling. I'm being tossed out of this material world. In the ocean of birth and death, I'm being tossed around. I can't swim. Even if you're an expert swimmer, your ego will get flattened when you come to the ocean. Similarly, we may feel we are very great, but in this ocean of birth and death, no one can become successful. The only way, the best process is to get out of this world. How? By taking shelter of Krishna consciousness. This boat, bhakti is like a boat. Only when we come into this boat of Krishna consciousness, this boat of ISKCON, we can get saved. So one may say, is there any other solution? No other solution. It is explained in the Kali Santana Upanishad. The entire Mahamantra comes, and then Lord Brahma is telling Narad Muni, Iti Shodashaka Nam Nam Kali Kalmash Nashanam Nata Parataropaya Sarva Vedesha Drishyate. He gives this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and he tells Narad Muni, in this age of Kali, Kaler Dosh and Ide Rajan, where there is so much problems, the only solution is Krishna consciousness, the process of chanting. That alone will save him from all turmoil. So if you want to experience shelter, solution to all our problems, there is only one solution. There is no other way. That is to take shelter of Krishna by the process of chanting Hare Krishna. We'll read text 15. Nadate kasyachit papam na chaiva sukritam vibho agyana pratam jnanam tene muyyanti jantava. Word to word, no, never. Adate accepts, kaschit, anyone's, papam, sin, no, nor, cha, also, eva, certainly, sukritam, pious activities, vibhuhu, the Supreme Lord, agyanena, by ignorance, avritam, covered, jnanam, knowledge, tena, by that, muyyanti, are bewildered, jantava, the living entities. Translation: not the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So, we are seeing three kinds of doers. One is the living entity. And what is the role of the living entity? To desire. That's the only thing that we can do. We can't move Prakriti because Prakriti is not ours. Krishna says, Maya Dakshena Prakriti. Devi Hasha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. So this Prakriti is Krishna's. So we can't manipulate Prakriti. We can only desire. And when that Supreme Lord sanctions, then Prakriti moves. So someone may say, that means the Supreme Lord is responsible. So who is responsible for our good or bad? When we sin, when we commit something wrong, is that Supreme Lord responsible or are we responsible? So Krishna tells here very clearly, the Supreme Lord does not assume anyone sinful or pious activities. He is neutral. Upadrishta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. He is a neutral witness. Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. I forgot the next line. Name dvesho stinapriya ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham. So Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita, he is equally disposed to everyone. He doesn't have anyone's favorite. No one is his favorite and he doesn't hate anyone. So the Lord doesn't interfere into living entity's life. Only when that living entity surrenders to Krishna, only then he takes charge. Otherwise, he is neutral. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, according to the Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishad, it is explained that the Lord does not interfere in the desires of the minute living entities. All of us have desire, and the Lord doesn't interfere with it. The Lord is okay, you desire, I have given you Bhagavad Gita, I will give you directions, but ultimately you do what you want. Even after speaking the entire Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses, Krishna gives the choice to Arjuna only. Arjuna, now you think, deliberate about it, and you decide what you want to do. So Krishna is like that. He is neutral to everyone. He doesn't interfere. He doesn't micromanage. He just leaves the freedom to all of us. And because the freedom is with all of us, who is responsible? We are responsible. So many people give this logic, commit something wrong, they commit wrong activity, they do some sin, and then they say the Lord inspires, because nothing moves without the sanction of the Lord. Not a blade of grass, not a blade of grass moves without his sanction. So it is he who put this desire within me. Wrong. This is not Gita's understanding. This is not supported in any scripture. In fact, the Upanishads say the Lord doesn't interfere with anyone's activities. It is up to us to decide what we want to do. So the Lord is not responsible. Who is responsible? We are only responsible. Right? We are only responsible because of our karma. But when we take shelter of Krishna, Krishna takes special care. Samoham sarva bhuteshu, samoham sarva bhuteshu, name dvesha sthina priya, ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapiham. Krishna says, I am neutral to all, but one who surrenders unto me, I take special care. So the Lord interferes only in the life of devotees who want him to interfere. Just like in this world also, if someone tells you very clearly, don't interfere in my life, naturally you will not interfere. Whose life you will interfere? Only one who wants you to interfere. Similarly, the Lord is like that, detached. He gives the living entity freedom. You all decide what you all want to do. But one who becomes a devotee of Krishna, Krishna takes special care. So this is the role of God in our life. So until we become a devotee of Krishna, Paramatma is there just as a neutral witness. But when we become a devotee of Krishna, Paramatma takes a back seat and Krishna, that Supreme Lord, takes a front seat. And then he comes to help all of us. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada explains the difference between Anu and Vibhu. So the Supreme Lord is also Paramatma. We are also Atma. So in the Vedic scriptures, many times when you find references to Atma, the word Atma can refer to the spirit soul, Jivatma, or it refer to Paramatma. But there is a big difference between both. All of us are Anu and the Lord is Vibhu. What is the difference? Anu means atomic. And because we are small, we are prone to ignorance. Just like fire, na? Fire, very less chance that the fire can get extinguished. But a spark of fire can get extinguished because the power of that spark is very less. That Supreme Lord, Paramatma, can never come under Maya. But we as Atma, Anu, we have the tendency to come under ignorance. We can come under ignorance. And therefore, we get stuck in the cycle of birth and death. So the whole essence of this verse is that the Lord is not responsible. He doesn't assume anyone's activities. We are only responsible. And we are caught in this cycle of birth and death because of ignorance. That's all. The embodied living beings are bewildered because of ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Therefore, knowledge is very, very important. Real knowledge. The knowledge to Bhakti Shastras is very important. Only through knowledge, Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya. Only by the mercy of Guru, when we have this right knowledge, the darkness can get cleared, ignorance can get cleared, and we can see things as it is. That is what Srila Prabhupada explains here. We will read text 16. Jnanena tu yag ajnanam yesham nashitam atmana tesham aditya vajnanam prakashyati tatparam. Word to word. Jnanena, by knowledge, tu, but, tat, that, ajnanam, nascence, yesham, whose, nashitam is destroyed, atmanaha, of the living entity, tesham, their, adityavat, like the rising sun, jnanam, knowledge, prakashyati, discloses, tat param, Krishna consciousness. Translation. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nascence is destroyed, then this knowledge reveals everything as sun lights up everything in daytime. So even though our situation is very precarious, we are in a very difficult situation. We are caught in this material body, which is a city of 9 gates. We are entrapped in this material world, which is like an ocean of birth and death, and we are being tossed up. So we are in a very difficult situation. This material world is a place of darkness. Kali Yuga is a place of darkness. So what is the hope for all of us? The hope for all of us is this verse of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is saying, Jnanena tad ajnanam esham nashitam atmana. One is enlightened with knowledge. This knowledge destroys ignorance. Nashitam, it destroys ignorance. Just like a sun, the rising of the sun destroys darkness. Tesham aditya vadjnanam prakashyati tatparam. When the sun rises, all darkness is destroyed. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hoy Andakar Jahan Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Radhikar. Krishna is like the sun and Maya is darkness. So wherever there is Krishna, darkness will disappear. And what does it mean to be in this under the sun of Krishna? That means to that means to have this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, where we are connected to the wisdom of Gita Bhagavatam. Gita Bhagavatam is also like the sun, right? So when we are under the shelter of the wisdom of Gita Bhagavatam, then all ignorance can be destroyed. So Prabhupada purport here, Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered. But those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. So when we forget Krishna, we will become bewildered. Just like if you turn your back away from the sun, what you will see in front of you? You will see darkness, your own shadow. But if you face towards the sun, you will not see shadow. Shadow is there when you show your back to the sun. Similarly, what is Maya? The definition of Maya is that which is not. Where there is no Krishna, there is Maya. And when there is Krishna, there is no Maya. So a living entity, when he forgets Krishna, he will be bewildered. And if he remembers Krishna, thinks of Krishna at once, his bewilderment will disappear. So in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Sarvam Jnanam Plavaineva Jnanagni Sarva Karmani Nahi Jnanena Sadrisham. The fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is glorifying the process of knowledge, transcendental knowledge. The knowledge of Krishna. Krishna says, Sarva Jnanam Plavaineva. Krishna gives various examples. The knowledge of the Gita Bhagavatam is like a boat which can help us cross this ocean of birth and death. Jnana ki sarva karmani. The knowledge of Krishna consciousness, the knowledge about Krishna that can destroy, burn all our sinful activities. Nahi jnanena sadrisham. Lord Krishna says, there is nothing better than transcendental knowledge. So transcendental knowledge is very, very important and it is highly esteemed. And what is this knowledge? So what is real knowledge? What is the definition of knowledge? People think they're very educated. People think that I am great, I have many degrees. What is the understanding of true knowledge? Prabhupada says, perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders to Krishna. Bas. Perfect knowledge means to understand I'm struggling in this world. I'm not supposed to be there in this world. I'm not supposed to be entrapped body, but somehow or the other I'm come in this body. Just like Lord Chaitanya says, somehow or the other I have fallen in this ocean of birth and death. My dear Lord, just pick me up. So real knowledge is to understand a precarious condition and understand that the only way I can get out of this place is surrendering to Krishna. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. The only way is to surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada quotes the 7th chapter, 19th verse. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanamam prapadyate. After many, many births of knowledge, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanamam prapadyate. When you cultivate knowledge, imagine you're acquiring knowledge for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. The perfection of knowledge is to understand Mam prapadyate, to surrender to Krishna. After going through many births, when one is perfect in knowledge and surrenders to Krishna, then everything is revealed to him as everything is revealed by the sun in daytime. So if you want knowledge, the only way is to surrender to Krishna. Because when you surrender to Krishna, the sun of Krishna rises in our heart. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Tesham evanu kampartam aham ajnana jamtamaha nashayami atma bhavastu jnana deepena bhasvata. Krishna explains in the 10th chapter, when we worship Krishna constantly, regularly, Tesham satata yuktana bhajatam priti purvakam, with love and devotion, then Krishna, out of his mercy, Tesham evanu kampartam, out of his anukampa, aham ajnana jamtamaha, he destroys all the ignorance and darkness which is there in our heart. Jnana deepena bhasvata, he lights the lamp of knowledge. So it is only Krishna who can light this lamp of knowledge within our heart. So when we surrender to Krishna with great humility, then Krishna will reveal knowledge to us. So transcendental knowledge is not achieved. It is ready to be achieved. It is something to be revealed. When mercy comes, it can happen. Tesham evanu kampartam. Only when Krishna shows us anukampa, it can happen. So Prabhupada says that the living entity is bewildered in so many ways. This material world is a place of bewilderment, and people have so many kinds of. I am God, everyone is God, everything is one. These are also ignorance. Prabhupada says this is the last snare of Maya, to think that I am God. So real knowledge can be obtained from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. So we have to be humble. We were discussing when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. Before he took sannyas, he goes to Gaya, and there he meets Ishwara Puri. And Lord Chaitanya is that supreme Lord. The same Lord comes as Lord Chaitanya, but he's so humble. He goes to spiritual master Ishwar Puri and tells him, please give me knowledge. Please initiate me. Without your mercy, I cannot cross the cycle of birth and death. So the Supreme Lord is showing through his own example that knowledge is achieved only when we surrender to Krishna through a bona fide spiritual master. So out of the 64 limbs of bhakti, the first 3 limbs of bhakti are related to Guru only. Shri Krishna Guru Shiksha Dikshadi Shikshanam, to go to a Guru and take Diksha from him, knowledge. Like Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Only that Supreme Lord give us knowledge to his bona fide spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada writes here, however, he can know everything well if he takes shelter of a perfect bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master. So one has to take shelter of God only, but through his bona fide representative, perfect bona fide spiritual master. You have to take shelter of him. And when you approach such a Guru, that Guru will reveal to us God, who we are, and what is our relationship with God, and how do we revive that. In Sanskrit, this is called Sambandha Abhideya Prayojan. What is my relationship with God? What is my relationship with this material world? Who am I? How do I establish that lost relationship back with God? And finally, what happens when that relationship is revived? What will I get? Everything is revealed. So Prabhupada concludes here saying, at night, we see everything as one in darkness. But in the day, when the sun is up, we see everything in its real identity. Identity with individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. So in the darkness, we may think that everything is one. So people have different concepts of spiritual life. And one of the most common misunderstandings of spiritual life is everything is one. Shunya, everything is zero. We are all God, we are all one. This is complete understanding. In darkness, you may think that everything is one. When the light comes up, you will see so much different variety. So in the spiritual world, everything is just not one mass. It's not that everything just unites and there is no individuality. Individuality remains in the spiritual world also. So all this finer ideas, finer concepts of spiritual life all this training is given to us gradually when we take shelter of Krishna through the process of bhakti by approaching his bona fide representative. So in this way, real knowledge is. So we've stopped here from text 17, which is the next section. We will continue the next time. Anyone has any questions? Yeah, you all can raise your hand if you have any questions. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam. Prashant here.
Dandat Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, all our progress in bhakti, in Krishna consciousness, depends upon our desires.
Correct.
And our desires depends upon the 3 modes of nature which we have acquired. So can we check those modes of nature, what we have acquired from past life or whatever it is?
Yeah,
and how to do that?
Yeah, we can definitely change. And that is the process of Krishna consciousness. Na? See, I'll tell you, this is a very beautiful verse I think this is the 14th chapter. Just 1 minute. Let me see if I can get that verse. So this is the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is entitled The Three Modes of Material Nature. So Krishna explains in the 14th chapter of how Rajogun works, how Tamogun works, how Sattvagun works, of how sometimes the Rajogun becomes powerful, sometimes Sattvagun becomes powerful, and how the living entities are completely controlled. So someone may say, I am already entrapped in this material world. The three modes are like very strong in me. Rajogun, Tamogun is very strong in me. Can I change my modes of material nature? Can I change the modes that are affecting us? So Krishna explains in text 26. This is like towards the end of the 14th chapter, the second last words. Krishna says, Mamcha yo vicharena bhakto sevate gunam samitityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and comes to the level of Brahman. So if you want to transcend Sagunan Samitityaitan, if you want to transcend the three modes, if you want to be free from the influence of the three modes, the only way is Mamcha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. One has to engage in Ananya Bhakti. One has to engage in Shuddha Bhakti, unfailing in all circumstances. Ahetuki apratiyata. If you practice this Shuddha Bhakti, the highest occupational duty that we all have, then one can transcend the modes of material nature. So when Krishna is telling in the Gita also, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo. So Krishna says, surrender unto me, I will free you from all reactions. So basically Krishna is saying, I will help you transcend the three modes. So because we can do it, that's why we are taking shelter of Krishna. If nothing can be changed, then the Gita really doesn't have meaning. So it's difficult to change the modes. It's a struggle, impossible. By the mercy of Krishna, it can be possible. Okay, Prabhuji? Vaidunga Prabhu, was it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Oh.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. Very nice explanation you have given. And you have quoted the right verse also here, 14th chapter.
Yeah.
We can overcome those slow by slow we can overcome those modes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or any other comments? Yes, Vikram Dandel Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The question is from one of devotee who is newly connected with our group. I just want to put forward to your question. It is related to chanting. He is asking that while doing chanting, he gets a lot of negative thoughts. So how to overcome with this thought? Because he's a new devotee and he started today onwards, and he did a good 7-round chanting. And he might continue with that, I hope.
Yeah. I mean, that is a struggle for all of us also, to be very honest. Wait, I'll just mute you. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So it's a fact that when we chant, we experience a lot of negativity. Many times there's a lot of agitation that goes on. But this is part of the process of purification. It's a part of the process. So one has to be steady in this process, because lifetimes of anarthas are hid inside in our hearts. Lifetimes of ignorance and passion is there. So it will take time for all these anarthas to go away. So the chanting process is the cleaning process, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So when we clean, we may see that certain impurities are coming up and rising up. So when you don't clean, the impurities are there, but they are settled down. When you start cleaning, the first phase is dusting up. So that is the process of cleaning. If you give up, then it will not get cleaned, right? So you have to just continue on this process. You have to have faith that it will take a little time. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna, struggle, it's a little struggle, and then be happy. Like, so there's a little struggle because there is so much impurities we have accumulated in our heart. We have kept all this garbage in our heart, thinking this to be greatest wealth. So it will take some time for the whole process to happen and for all these anarthas to go away. Right? So till then, one has to be patient. Is it okay, Prabhu? Okay. How to forgive some people who have troubled me and some who hurted me a lot? Yeah, this is also an important question. How to practice forgiveness? Yeah. So it's definitely it's not easy to forgive others, especially if someone has really troubled you, hurt you. But then see, there is the understanding of forgiveness doesn't mean that you forget that offense. You may still feel hurt with it, but then you agree to let go. Because if you keep holding on to that grudge, we only will get affected. So if that person has hurt you so much, why do you think about him day and night? Just let him go out of your life. His life will go on the way it is. You carry on your life. So there are so many people who get stuck in the past. Something happened to them 3 years ago, 10 years ago, someone hurt them. They keep remembering that. That means what? You have not moved in your life. You are stuck 10 years back only. So if you're stuck in that point in history, how will you move ahead? So you have to let go so that you can move ahead. If your heart is filled with hatred or bad feelings for someone, how will you make space in your heart for some new person to come and enter, for a new relationship to happen? So you let go. You can think that Lord Krishna wanted to teach you something. He wanted to make you humble. He wanted to teach you how this material world is a place of misery, right? How ultimately Krishna is our best friend. So there are so many lessons we can learn. We just learn a lesson and then just let go. Because if you hold on to it, then our progress will get stopped. We will not even be able to progress in spiritual life. We'll feel stuck. We'll feel stagnant. So what is the point in being stagnant? We have to move on in life. So just learn your lesson. Don't allow him to come and abuse you, hurt you again and again. If it's happening, if it's unintentionally he did it, you can forgive him and you can bring him in your life again. But if he's doing it again and again, you let him go. Forgiveness means you let him go and you carry on your life. Don't be stuck with him forever. That's the whole understanding. Is it okay, Prabhuji? Okay. Any other question? Any other comments?